Like, I think a lot of instrumental musicians, not just beat makers, often struggle with that because it's like the voice is the music. But then they're like, but wait a minute, that's a different beat and that sounds fire too.
When you started noticing that people were reacting differently, what did that do for you?
But people were fing with it. Like, everybody was going nuts. I'm like, that was a turning point for me. For me, that's the most important thing.
Yo, what's up? This is Toru, music producer, entrepreneur, and host of this show, Producer Head. Welcome to another episode, this one live from my studio right here in Mexico City. Today I'm sitting down with the Phronetic, a producer, artist, and visual creative whose work sits at the intersection of hip-hop, jazz, and beat culture. We get into what it really means to make music that is an invitation to fans, how taste is developed through doing, not consuming, and the cost of the producer grind culture. This one's about longevity, clarity, and trusting what you hear in your head. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? This is Toru, and in a way, so are you. Welcome to another episode of Producer Head, live from my studio in Mexico City, the Phronetic. What's up, man? How are you?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, man.
How you
Peace.
doing, man?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No, man, I appreciate you being here.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate
Hell
it. Man, I guess like kind of with that, I do want to get into like your thoughts on making music. Like that, you said this to me yesterday when we were out, and I was like, that really just like stuck with me. This idea of making music that invites people and makes people want to listen, as opposed to kind of like throwing it at them and like kind of like trying to force feed them. So can you speak more on that?
Yeah. I think as producers, we kind of are tasked with this difficult thing of like, listen to me, even though it's instrumental. Like, I think a lot of instrumental musicians, not just beat makers, often struggle with that because it's like the voice is the music. It's not necessarily the actual voice, which sometimes, especially in this day and age, it's like you need that. You need the cool style and the cool brand and the cool, like, everything to get people to listen to what you want to say. But I think in the beat world, there is a way to do that, and you don't need to force feed people your beats. And I think, and this isn't shade to anybody in any community at all, because like I feel I used to do this too when I started out, but just like dropping music every day, like a new beat tape every week, like listen to my music, like posting like 3 songs a day, like, and it is kind of like, well, if I keep putting music out there, people will be bound to hear it. But it kind of works against you because you're just like overworking yourself. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that too, but it's like you're overworking yourself, but you're also making people tired of seeing you. And they will get used to the idea, well, of course, Fro's going to drop another track today, it's probably going to be like the one yesterday, and there's no evolution, there's no development. And at that point, you're kind of just begging people to listen to your music. And I think for me, a big turning point was maybe in like 2019, 2018, when I started putting acapellas over my beats. And started making more remixes. And I'm not a DJ at all. I don't know how to DJ. I don't know how to use any of that fancy gear you got out there at all. But I was just kind of like, well, this is a beat. And while I'm making the beat, I kind of had this melody in my head that already exists in another song. So why don't I just try putting that over there and make a remix out of it? And once I started doing that, people in the beat community were just kind of like, what are you doing? Why are we listening to fucking like Travis Scott over this jazz beat right now? But then I noticed at the beat shows and at parties and stuff, it would make people more interested in what I was playing because it recontextualized something that they already knew. But then they're like, but wait a minute, that's a different beat. And that sounds fire too. And then over time, like the more I did it, I realized the more people were interested in the instrumentals that I had and more interested in like, oh, well, what else? What else do you have? And then I saw this transformation of like now all the time, like there's remixes and stuff at the beat shows. And I love it because it helps draw people, invite people into what you're doing. And I think for beginners or people who are just kind of starting out, that's one way to do it. I mean, that's the DJ route, right? Like it's not really being a DJ, but it's inviting people to recontextualize something that they already know and then listen to something new at the same time. So I think that's the most important thing. It's not just like, bom, 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 dropping beat tapes. It's like, no, like, what do the people want to hear?
Mm-hmm.
How do you pander to that a little bit? And then go into what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think it is about music with lyrics that is more inviting to people than purely instrumental music in general? Because obviously, like, the people that listen to this podcast and like the people that we hang out with are going to be people who are, producers and more appreciative generally and more into that kind of stuff. But like you're saying, I feel like the vast majority of the public is more drawn to, whether it's hip hop or otherwise, like music that has vocals in it.
I think people want something to identify with. Like when you go to a show, one of the things that makes the show electric is that everybody's singing the lyrics and everybody's together in that way. It's harder to have that sense of togetherness without lyrics. It's not impossible, but it's like I don't know. I've never been to like a Rat Tat Tat show before. I only say that because we heard it yesterday at the bar we were at. It's hard to like feel anthemic with a Rat Tat Tat song, which is purely instrumental. Not to say that it's bad. It's harder to relate to each other. And when it comes to lyrics, somebody might say something that relates to an experience that you had. And at the end of the day, when people listen to music, they want to feel something. And so sometimes lyrics just make that easier. It's not impossible with instrumentals, but I think the majority of people just like if we're talking about the masses, they're not usually listening to instrumental beats. Um, it depends on what your goals are, but for me, I was just like more interested in having people listen to what I had to say rather than just being like, okay, I'm a pure beat maker and I'm only gonna play instrumentals because it just kind of took away from what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I think it just helps people relate to shit.
Yeah, it's just like an entry point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I kind of have this like theory that it's because I've talked about this a lot with like just random people. It's just I think it's just like most people have a voice, right? And so it's just like and most people don't play music or produce music. So I think it's just like it's that easy access point where it's like, oh, I can like immediately like repeat these words of the hook or like the message of the song is more explicit and so you can maybe connect it to something that happened in your life, you know? So, I mean, when you started noticing that people were reacting differently, what did that do for you?
I was just like, "Oh shit!" Like I kind of remember it really vividly. Like one of the first times I did that, we were playing a show in Connecticut. This was with Today's Future Sound back in the day, and all the New York City beat homies. And I was like, one of the first times I was dropping this remix that I did. I had a Roy Hargrove sample over some drums, and it was like a super jazzy, but like with trap drums, and like Eminem over it, and then the chorus was Travis Scott. It was Goosebumps, and 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 people were just like, "What the fuck?" But people were fucking with it. Like everybody was going nuts, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like I've never, like I before that point, I had played a ton of beat shows, but I had never gotten the reception from one single beat than I did with that track. And that was a turning point for me. Like I was just like, okay, well, I don't need to make everything a remix, but I can. And then I noticed that when we were doing beat shows in places where people would also come who were not related to the beat community at all, just like passersby, people would stop for my set and be like dancing and singing along with it and being like, holy shit, like this is dope. And they would party and I'm like, I'm not a DJ, but they're dancing like I'm a DJ. And then they're like, "Oh, but what is he doing? What is this machine? What is he like doing with his fingers? What is that thing?" And it got people interested in what we were doing as a whole. And then they wound up staying to like listen to the other beats that people had to play. And for me, that's the most important thing. Make people want to listen to what you have to say. And yeah, with that I think it was that show in Connecticut. It must have been like 2019. It was before COVID. And like I was just like, "Holy shit. Yeah, this is it."
I mean, I feel like like some of what's underneath that, man, is that you just have really good instincts and like taste, right? Like you understand that like these things kind of on the surface don't look like they should work, but you kind of like I know this will work, that you like it, and then you like have that idea when you're just in the room making it. So I'm like, how can you teach taste?
I just saw a video about this actually the other day. I was fucking doom scrolling and I saw a video like, how do you teach taste? I don't know because like I thank you for that
Yeah.
compliment, but I think I lack taste in every other sense of it. Maybe musically I have it, but like I don't know. My girlfriend is a designer and I'm always asking her, I'm like, designer, help me. Like what is cool? Like is this cool? Is this outfit cool? Like we just filmed a bunch of music videos with D last week and I'm like, babe, like help me with the outfits because if I'm being honest, I'm gonna pull up with a black hoodie, black pants, and I'm done. You know what I mean? So like I don't know if taste can be taught. Like I think your taste is what you like. If other people think it's cool, cool. If they don't, then they don't. I definitely put out shit that people don't get. I put out shit that, maybe she doesn't like, but maybe somebody else does. I don't know. I think everybody just has a taste. It's not something that you could be taught. Like, the more unique your taste is, the
Mm,
cooler it is, I think.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, did your beats sound good when you first started making beats?
No, no, they sounded like shit. So I guess, but is that more of like a learning taste or is that more of like learning the tools? It's like, because everybody has an idea of what their beat sounds like in their head. but it's translating it onto the computer or onto the beat machine, knowing what tools to use, what plugins to use to get that sound. And I think that's the art of music production is learning how to use the language or like figure like it's like speaking a language. Like the more you learn the grammar, the slang, the vocabulary, you'll be able to express yourself more. It doesn't mean that you didn't already have the thought in your head. You know what I mean? So it's like I think everybody has taste just by being who they are, you know?
Yeah. How do you is that how you've thought about production maybe even if it's subconsciously thinking about developing tools and developing taste because that's an interesting way to look at it.
For sure. Yeah, when I started teaching beats, that sort of comparison came to mind because I was trying to get we were usually teaching like kids. I was working with like TFS and some Hip Hop Ried and shout out to those guys, a bunch of different beat education organizations. And I was trying to figure out how to explain the importance of why we need to learn where to click and what a compressor does and what an EQ does. And why is that important? Because otherwise it's just boring. But if you compare it to somebody like, well, you'll be able to speak cooler or be able to communicate your idea well if you understand this stuff, then it's like, oh, well, there's a reason why I need to learn that. You know, it's not just like, oh, I got to learn like grammar today, you know, in my Spanish class or something like that. It's like, no, like you'll speak better and communicate yourself better if you learn this. And so when I started making that connection, kids would be like, oh, oh, oh. And then I would see that development. I would see them, well, oh, I heard something that I really like in this song. And you taught us the other day about like EQ and like rolling off the lows. And that's how you get a telephone sound. I'm like, yes. So now you know how to make that, you know, because that's the thing you wanted to capture that you heard in your head that maybe you just didn't know how to do. So I think is music production, you
Yeah,
know?
no, that's a really cool, yeah,
Yeah.
connection. I guess, I mean, how do you because I do think, like, in addition to that, there's sort of this, like, the ability to identify, like, sounds that work, you know what I mean? That aren't necessarily it's not like, are they in key? But it's like, is this sound have, like, the character or, like, the vibe that I want in this thing? And how do you think you've learned to develop that for yourself? Because you have, like, a real like, your stuff is just so cohesive, I think, right? It's like it all fits together to make a sound.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just say it's like I don't know. This could be controversial, and it's also to my own downfall as well. It's like I'm a perfectionist, so I will sit in the studio just like everybody else does and search for a snare drum for an hour. I just will because I need to because maybe the first snare that I came across didn't fit what I wanted it to fit, and I knew that. So that can kind of be a bad thing too because if you're wasting too much time on being a perfectionist then you're never gonna put anything out, and that's something that I'm struggling with, but don't be afraid to just, like, wait for the right thing, you know what I mean? Like, keep searching through the presets to find something cool, and then even then when you find it, tweak it a little bit and see if you could get something even cooler that you want. Because at the end of the day, like I was saying before, like, we all know kind of what we want, but through experimentation, you get something even cooler than you thought that you wanted, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm, like, just like everyone else listening to this, hours and hours and hours in the studio, just like looking. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanna ask you about, like so you mentioned, like, that, searching for a snare drum, getting lost in the details like that, and that's not what most people think making music is unless they make it, and so what I'm wondering is it's kind of a different part of making music. It's not like making the beat, it's like so do you think about, like there's been other people that have described this as, like, kind of like almost like organization sessions, kind of versus, like, creation sessions. Do you deliberately do stuff like that, or is searching for that snare just part of it, and you just, like, however long it takes to find the snare, and then you come back and you just keep making the same beat?
It's a good question. I don't think that I sparse it out like that. Like so you know, like time for this and time for that. But I definitely in downtime I'm like looking for samples or, you know, like looking for cool drum sounds and I just have like a folder on my phone and on my computer and you know, if I find something cool, I'll just drop it in the folder and then that way when I'm in the studio ready to make something, I'll just go to my folder of the cool shit that I found. Um but yeah, I mean there's no right or wrong way to do it, you know.
Yeah, it's cool, it's interesting. It sounds like kinda like if you're sitting on the couch watching TV or something, maybe you just have use Logic, right, or your MPC up, and you're just, like you're looking for stuff and you have it ready for the next time you're in there, and that's where you go. And is that typically how you start when you go in, you have a folder that you look to first?
Usually, yeah. Like I used to kind of start from scratch every single time, but I just kind of over time you kind of just the more you make beats, the more you kind of find what works for you, and then I just kind of throughout time, I was just collecting samples and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not conscious. It's not like oh today I gotta sit down and It's just
Right.
kind of happening
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know somebody who's been on the show, and I think they might have mentioned the episode, they use the same kick and they on everything. Like,
Yeah.
years ago, they like, "I like this kick," and they use it on everything. And yeah, I know I like it. I know how to like, it's the base of my mix. Like, I know how to start the mix. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, and I do think Wino Willie too, who's just on the show, was talking about like there's a snare he likes. It's like I've got like 1 to 5 snares, and I'm always using one of those. And it's like I don't know. Like, I think there's like a connection because those are some of the most. They have some of the biggest catalogs of people that I've talked to. You know what I mean? And so I don't think that's like a coincidence. You know what I mean? Because if you kind of take those like certain decisions and you just like kind of be like, I know what I'm going to use. Also, you get a sound. I think like there's an interesting thing that happens where we think we need new stuff all the time. But like when I think about a band that goes into a studio, they don't change the drum kit necessarily every track, right? And they don't play necessarily a different guitar every time. So it's interesting, man, that you can actually like develop a sound through like picking some stuff and committing, you know what I mean? And not needing to like, I don't know, like choose something new every single time.
Yeah, no, I definitely I wouldn't say it's only like 5, but definitely like at least 10, maybe 15 kicks that I always use. And I'm like, because there's no reason to switch it up if I don't have to. Something like that. Most listeners don't really hear unless I'm going for something totally different. Then yeah, I'll like find something new. But yeah, I agree. I think whatever makes your workflow more efficient, then go for it.
Right. And it's part of your sound, right? I mean, it's like it can be a fun creative thing to try something new. It can also be something fun and create like a creative challenge to limit yourself to be like, I am only going to use these few kicks always, you know? Because it just kind of forces you to go forward. I mean, to what extent do you think like those kinds of decisions and getting lost in the details, like when do you notice that maybe you're actually like using that as like an excuse to avoid working on something?
I I don't know because for me personally, it's usually something else that's stopping me. For me, it's not like sound selection. For me, I already feel like pretty confident in my sound and like the way my beats sound. For me, it's more like my vocals. I'd be like, oh well, this mix doesn't sound right, and I don't like the way my voice hit in this. And so everybody kind of has their thing that kind of holds them back a little bit. Is it an excuse? Maybe. Like I definitely have tracks that I never dropped and have been sitting on the hard drive just like everybody else that I'm just like, well, this isn't good enough because, and then I have my 5 reasons. You know what I mean? Is that limiting me? Probably. You know.
What does it feel like for you when you're blocked? And what do you feel like are usually like kind of the causes of that?
Uh, I think a lot of the times it's like when it comes to music, solely music, I'm not working with other people really. Like I want to, but yeah, I don't have like a team. I don't have like people mixing for me. I don't have people like recording my vocals for me in the studio. Like I'm in it. I'm doing it all by myself. And so like I feel because it is all by myself, I don't have another brain to bounce off of and to tell me like this is good or this is bad. And I feel when I get stuck in that, it makes me just doubt myself even more. I'm like, oh well, this sounds stupid because blah 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 blah. But then, for example, like I said, we just did these collabs with D, and he's like, "No, that sounds dope." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then before you know it, we filmed the music videos already. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think like if you can find somebody to bounce your ideas off of, not that they're a yes man, but that they could just be another perspective for you. Because as producers, we're doing everything by ourselves most of the time. Most of the people watching this are doing everything by themselves. So try to branch out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really cool to think about having somebody to bounce stuff off of, maybe like people that you can trust. And even if you know they have some like, everyone's got their biases and stuff, but like, if you know that person, you kind of know how to read between the lines on that and understand like what they're getting out of it. I say this to people all the time. It's just like even if you just have like half-baked ideas and stuff, just like bounce them and have them ready to play for somebody, even if it's a 4-bar loop that just repeats for a minute, especially if you want to work with like a rapper or a vocalist or something. Cause like you don't know what they're gonna hear when they play it. And so don't like just immediately assume because you don't like it in that moment that it's just never gonna be anything.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to be particular about who are those people that you're bouncing ideas off of because like you can definitely bounce the idea off of the wrong person and maybe they're just not a fan of the style that you do and maybe they're a fan of a different style that you don't even want to emulate at all, but then they might convince you to not do the thing that you wanted to do that might be super cool. So like definitely being choosy about who you bounce those ideas off of.
Yeah, right on. Yo, make sure you're subscribed at producerhead.substack.com. When you subscribe, you'll have a chance to submit your released music to be featured and the opportunity to send in unreleased tracks for feedback. Again, that's producerhead.substack.com. Subscribe for features and feedback opportunities. Subscribe for free at producerhead.substack.com. All right, let's get back into it. So, I mean, man, how long would you say you've been doing this now?
I guess beat making 10 years.
Okay.
About 10 years, and music in general, my whole life.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I guess I want to, cause like, dude, 10 years is a long time to be doing this. And it sounds like, as you were talking, you kind of like referenced this earlier, several drops a day on social media and stuff to try to get some traction. And so I'm wondering if you can speak, like looking back now, maybe how you look at that. And like, I think it feels like there's a lot of pressure on producers and like really like any kind of like content creator to like be hyper productive and kind of work almost like a factory. And, I think most of us know that's not really like realistic or sustainable, but so how do you like, I guess like looking back, how do you look at that time when you were just like hyper focused and hyper productive? What did you learn from that? And also like, do you see that? Is that something that's just necessary and you have to do something like that in order to gain traction? Or do you see alternatives to that?
I think it depends on your goals. Like if your goal is to, grow a social media following and like just get a ton of followers and like grow from there, then I would post as often as you can. Definitely not 3 times a day. But there are situations where I would tell somebody to post 3 times a day, but not in music. Maybe if you're running some other type of business. But yeah, when it comes to music, it's like art is so personal that it can't be rushed because other people can tell. Other people can tell. Any sort of art form, people could tell if it's rushed or not, or if it really has that deeper meaning behind it, and that's what makes good art and bad art. But like, yeah, did I have like a point where I was like, no, probably. When I first started making beats, I wasn't on social media at all. I was just like, I was with a rap crew. I just started making beats because we needed beats, and we kept ripping beats off of YouTube, and we're like, we can't do this anymore, bro. We need somebody to make beats. And I was already playing piano and several instruments for several years. So I was like, I guess I'll learn. Like, why not? It's kind of up my alley already. And then I fell in love with it. No social media, no nothing. But then Instagram came out, the video feature on Instagram. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to share this journey. And at that point, it was like really only 3 guys on Instagram like doing beats. It was like Beats by J Black and Odd Kid Out. And then there was me. And I was like, wow, there's these guys are like doing this thing called finger drumming. Like that's fucking dope. Like I play drums. Like I want to play drums more easily, like and
Yeah.
not lug a drum kit around.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, yo, this is crazy. So I copped an MPD, um, 32, the old school one. And then I was like, I guess I'm gonna learn finger drumming because it's a way to show my beats to somebody rather than me just filming my head nodding in front of a computer screen. Because that's was the only way back in the day, right? But now, like, forget about it. Everybody's finger drumming, everybody's doing everything. But at that point, I was just dropping a video like every day if I could. I was like, okay, well, here's what I learned today. Blah 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 blah. Here's what I learned today. Oh, here I found this cool sample. Oh, I learned what compression was today, and I would just like show whatever I could every day. In that time, that worked because almost nobody was doing it. Like I said, it was just the 3 of us. I Kid Out and Jay Black. So now it's a different ball game. If you're posting every day, you really need to be just doing something different for people to catch their attention. So I wouldn't suggest to somebody like do that every day. My turning point was when I realized that my art was suffering because I was trying to put out a video every day. And I was like, I've talked about this a lot, but like I got really sick in 2018. I was like working on my first album. I told everybody, I was like, I'm dropping this album on February 27th. And then I didn't have anything done on the album. I just had like a few beat ideas, but bro, it was like already February like 13th. It's like fuck. And then I made a whole album in 2 weeks, and I got really sick because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. I started having seizures, and I lost all this weight, bro. I was like a twig, and it was the scariest moment I've ever had in my life. And it lasted for a few years to like recover from that, and that was my turning point. I was like, holy shit, this isn't worth it. It's not worth it. Like yeah, don't like announce an album drop if your album isn't done yet. So I learned my lesson that way. But also, the point is, don't overwork yourself, man. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's never worth it, bro. Half the time, like we'll be spending like 8, 10 hours on a beat video, and then it'll probably flop unless it's something like really crazy. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not worth it. Just put time into something that you really want to do and make it as good as you want it to be. Don't be too perfectionist, but just drop it when it's ready. Nobody's. I promise you, nobody's like refreshing your page and like, oh, he didn't drop 3 beats today. Like, I promise no one's doing that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was a long winded way for me to say, like, don't go crazy.
No, man, I mean, that's I had no idea about that story, and that's heavy,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate you like being so open about that, and it makes me want to ask. I mean, I hear you on the like the public announcement piece of that, but also I feel like there's a lot of us that would be like, you know what? All right, I'm just not going to hit that. You know what I mean? And I learned that lesson, and I'm gonna like maybe keep my mouth closed, or I'm gonna give myself more of a buffer on the deadline, whatever. But something in you was like, I'll do whatever it takes to hit this deadline. Like, where does that come from?
I think at that time I was like, I really had a lot of eyes on me, like because there were so few people doing it. It was new for people, and people were just so in tune with what I was doing, and I really respected that, and I admired that, and I was thankful for that, and I didn't want to let anyone down. I didn't want to be like, yeah, this is gonna drop, and then the day comes and goes. Oh, well, where is it? You know what I mean? I didn't want that. Now, I'm a little more lenient with it. I'm definitely not, like, announcing drop dates for anything if it's not ready, but, like, yeah, I'm gonna drop this sample pack, and I said that I was gonna drop a sample pack a few months ago, but I'm still working on it? So, like, don't give a date, I would say, like, if you say something's coming, then work on it and make sure
Yeah.
that's cool, but, like, yeah, it was just at that time, it was brand new. The whole, like, Instagram, like, influencer type thing was new, and I was like I was in the middle of it. I was like, "I can't let these people down?"
Where does pressure come from?
Um, that's a good question. I think for me, it comes from me. I think I pressure myself a little too much, but it depends. I mean, everybody's different. Your family, wanting to achieve your goals, your friends, money. It
It sounds like
depends.
you don't feel the external pressure as much.
Yeah, externally, no. I think it's just me. Like, I'm just like, I want to do this before I die. You know what I mean? And I could die tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's just like, I want to do it. I want to do it. If I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
In terms of success, like how much do you think success is within your control, within a person's control?
That's a good question. I think, in one sense, it's entirely in your control. But I think some people have more obstacles than others. So some people have it easy. Some people were born with a lot of money, for example, and then you know maybe on their fifth try of starting a business, it's going to work out. Maybe somebody else doesn't have as much money. It's going to be on their 20th try that something's going to work out. But it's like everybody still has obstacles. Even if you have a little bit more of an advantage, you still have obstacles too. So I think it's like your willingness to overcome those obstacles, whatever they may be. And it's okay if you don't want to, because then maybe that just means that that's not really something that you want. And that's okay. Like, I'm passionate about music, but my main bread and butter is video editing. I'm gonna edit videos because I need to make money. I'm not gonna lose sleep at night because I gotta get this video out because it's my passion. You know what I mean? So that's okay. That's not my passion. Music is my passion. So it's okay to take music not as seriously. You know what I mean? And not pressure yourself as much. But for me in particular, I was just like, no, this is what I'm going to do, and I am going to be successful because this is what I said I wanted to do. So I think anyone can be successful. That doesn't mean that it's easy,
Yeah.
but anyone can be successful, especially now, especially with the internet. There's no excuse almost.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, there's a couple things on that I want to like kind of zoom in on. So one of them is like, I guess, where do you see like when you think about like how has the way that you define success like changed over time? First of all.
yeah, I think when I first started, like my idea of success, like I mentioned, we were in a rap group. I wasn't even making beats really. Just started, and my idea of success was just being like famous rapper. I was fucking like in college, man. But then that changed, and I wanted to make beats, and I wanted to be like the best beat maker ever. And then that was my goal. And then now my goal is not even to be the best beat maker ever. I just want to make the best music, whether it's instrumental, whether it's beats, whether it's jazz, whether it's house. Like, so the goals change as you mature because you kind of just like everyone else, you mature and you realize what it is that you want. For me, it only changed because I was exposing myself to more things. Like, if you asked me like 6 years ago, what was my goal? My goal was to have like Brooklyn Beat Syndicate be like the best fucking beat platform that there was and give an opportunity to every beat maker that's out there. But now I'm not interested in running like a beat platform. Not because I don't want to serve the community, but because I've done that already. I've done that for several years. It was amazing. It was rewarding. But I didn't always see the return like to my own self, and I was sacrificing too much. So my goal changed because I matured and I realized what I wanted. So success just changes based off of what you want. That's all. It's not money, it's not followers, it's just what do you want? Did you get what you want? And you're successful.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds like, yeah, it sounds like it's really important to define it to you
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that you know. So like, yeah, the best music, well, according to who?
Right, exactly. I
Hmm.
want to make the best music according to me. If somebody who listens to a different genre of music doesn't like it, then that's cool. But if I think that it's the best, then that's all that matters, you know?
Yeah. And so the other thing I want to ask you is I'm curious about how you see like the convergence of multiple things coming together for you to like be successful in what you've been able to do in terms of like what you did in terms of the work and your personal commitments and sacrifices, as well as like kind of external things that maybe you had no idea were happening until they happened and like kind of collided, in terms of like, cause I think something that's really underneath a lot of what you're talking about in your personal thing with social media is the timing. And that is something that we have very little to no control over, in terms of what's happening in the world and where we fit. And it sounds like, it wasn't even something you were necessarily seizing, like, oh, there's nobody doing this, I'm going to do it. It's just you saw this was cool, you wanted to do it. And then in hindsight, or at the time after you're doing it, realizing, oh, there's not a lot of people doing this.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. You got to just go with what you want to do, tying back to what is successful. It's what you want to do. At that moment, I wanted to, make beat videos and put them on the internet, and that's cool. Right now, I want to do something else. Like,
Yeah.
you just got to do what you want.
And so did the video editing start when you were like making content? Is that how you first got into video editing?
I was doing video editing since before I even really started music production. I was like making YouTube videos. Um, I was like doing how to. I play guitar, so when I was in middle school, I was making like guitar tutorials for people. So I was always really interested in video editing. I guess the big shift happened was when I wanted my visuals to be more competitive on social media. Not necessarily just more competitive. I shouldn't say it like that. I just wanted it to be cooler, you know. And I knew that me just taking my phone out and filming something was cool, but it could be even cooler. Like I could have these people scroll, hear a cool beat, and watch a movie at the same time. I was like, whoa. So I really need to learn like color grading and framing and composition and like how to really edit, not just chopping up something and syncing the audio. No, like really editing. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I can make a movie, And I got really into like cameras and editing software and color grading and hours and hours and hours of just like researching all of this stuff. And still am to this day, like still a student of it. Uh, but that's why it started. And then I realized, like, wait a minute, you could make more money doing video than you can music. And I still make money doing music, but now like I make more money doing video editing for all types of businesses or for artists or whoever, because everybody needs it. AI still hasn't really gotten a hold of that just yet. You still need a human element behind it. So yeah, that's why I just wanted my visuals to be even cooler.
That's cool. So it was kind of the jumping off point for like to realize that you were interested in something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just like, okay, I was always kind of interested in this, but then I realized I was like, oh, I'm interested in like color. I love color. Like colors for me are the most exciting thing about
Yeah.
video editing. So
I guess like without getting like too crazy with this, I guess like I'm curious about how we can maybe offer some high level like cuz maybe less mechanical but high level things to help people that are trying to like improve their videos and their editing and stuff and content, like things that they could maybe think about in terms of in how they approach what they do.
yeah, I don't even think you need to get too technical with it. I think like one of the turning points for me, even before I got it super into video editing and cameras and shit, was just like going outside. Like film your beat outside. Don't just do it in your studio. Like people have seen your studio a million times. I fell victim to that too. I was just like recording beats in my bedroom forever. And then once I started going outside, when I was doing like interviews and stuff where people were doing write ups on me, they were like, the producer that's always outside. I'd be like, wait, oh shit, like that's cool. Like maybe people aren't doing that as much as I thought. Cause I just wanted a scenery change. I wanted to show where I was from, like the neighborhood I was from and where I go and where I like to chill. And then it kind of just turned into this thing like, oh, well, duh. People don't want to see the same thing all the time. So just go outside, like go to a cool place that you like or that you feel inspired by or a place that means a lot to you. And just maybe the most technical thing that I could offer to people is just like learn framing, like learn not just like horizontal framing, but vertical framing. And don't be like tied to this idea that you have to be in the center of the video. You can like creatively frame it so that you could add other assets later on in video editing if you want. That would be maybe a little techie, but go outside and learn framing.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I think the going outside piece is like to your point, it's like you wanted to change the scenery, it's something you wanted to do. You're thinking about your own neighborhood that's personal to you. And I think like it's connected to what you were saying earlier about kind of differentiation because now we're in this place where like there are a lot of people doing this. And so if it's important to you to stand out or to get some attention, then finding a way to differentiate yourself in some ways is really important. And I think because each of us is inherently different and distinct, like finding those ways to like let that be seen in our videos is a really valuable like kind of piece of advice, really.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, people want to see who you are. Even if you're an
Yeah.
instrumental beat maker, the same thing with artists. Like people listen to art, don't like using the term artist because producers are artists, but people look to vocalists and they're like, I want to relate to something that this vocalist has to say. Well, I can relate to where they're from and the clothes that they wear. And producers should try and capture that too.
Yeah.
I guarantee, for example, if you pull up to Central Park and you film a beat video, yeah, sure, there's probably a ton of people doing that, but they're not going to choose the spot that you chose most likely. You know what I mean? That story is yours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's interesting. How do you do so cuz like what do you have to say to somebody that's like I'm just like I feel weird doing that. Right? It's like I'm outside, I just feel weird. I'm like standing out here recording stuff,
oh,
you know? Like
yeah.
like
Um,
stage fright almost, but maybe also just worried about what people think or how it looks,
yeah.
etc.
I mean, I think over time you get over it. I don't think I personally ever felt that way just because I had been making YouTube videos since I was like a preteen. So I never particularly had that feeling, but I do understand that feeling. And if you want to make videos, okay, I also have to say this. Don't make videos if you don't want to make videos.
There you
Like
go. Yeah.
don't feel like you have to play in this whole like content creation game or whatever. Don't do it if you don't want to do it. I think there's this huge misconception that you have to make content to be a successful musician. You don't. Spotify algorithm, Spotify is controversial, whatever. I'm sure we could talk all day about that, but the algorithm's good. The algorithm is going to show you music that you want to listen to more or less. I don't know if you have ever checked out your Discover Weekly playlist, but every week mine is on point. It's exactly what I want to listen to. So if you're making the music that you like and one other person likes it, then that means that there could be a million people out there that like it. So you don't need to make content. There's a ton of artists out there who don't make content at all and are doing great numbers, you know? So, yeah, but to answer your question that you said, like, what do you say to people who feel weird? Well, first of all, do you want to do it? If you do want to do it, then two, just the more you keep doing it, you're going to get over it. Like, you're going to get over that weird feeling. And these days, people are used to it. People are used to YouTubers and people filming outside. So don't feel too self conscious about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool, man. I mean, cuz I was watching some of your stuff, obviously like getting ready for this and there's that video of you, I guess it's in New York. You're standing like on a median with like the MPD or the MPC, I can't remember which one it is. And it's just like there's like a street sign behind you and there's just cars going by and you're just standing in
Oh,
the middle. And I'm just
yeah.
like dude, that's like I mean, and you got the fit on and everything. And I'm just like I kind of like asked that question really selfishly for myself. It's like, dude, like lugging the gear out, setting all that up, and just being out there, I'm like, oh man, it just sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But also the video is sick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it's even like a 30-second video, like as you know, and everybody else knows, it takes time. It takes hours, you know? And I'm out there and I'm getting frustrated because it's freezing and my hands are cold and I just fucked up the timing of the snare drum and that's not perfect and I don't want to quantize my shit. So I got to do it 80 times before it's perfect. And I asked Jay Black this. I interviewed Jay Black a few years ago and I asked him like, "How many takes does it take you?" And he's like, "Oh, it takes me one take." I'm like, "What?" It's like maybe
Yeah,
I'm being
wow.
too perfectionist. But yeah, just like it's a lot of work, but if you want to do it, then just do it. Like it's like going to the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think the reps are big, right? To just get familiar in a space where you're not familiar. I'm curious about yeah, like how do you think about that? Like, are you consciously looking for things that you're uncomfortable about? And I'm gonna go there and like get and figure this out, or do you typically, or yeah, how do you think about that?
I guess the key is that I don't think about it. If I think about it too much, I wind up not going out to film. And yeah, I think like one of the one of the longest and hardest videos I did was I have this beat called All Over the World and I made this music video for it. It's an instrumental beat, but I was out there by myself doing the camera by myself and there's this one scene where I had to put the camera like 200 feet away from where I was and climb over a bunch of rocks over the river. And I was so worried about somebody stealing my camera. So I'm like, fuck, like I gotta ah. And it was super stressful, but that day I was like, nah, I gotta do this. And I didn't even think about doing that shot until I got there. And I was like, well, I'm already out here. Inertia. You know what I mean? I'm already doing it, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. You have to just start. And then once you're out there, they say like the 5 minute rule. Like if you're putting off something, just start doing it for 5 minutes and you'll probably
Mm,
finish it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So don't think about it.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. I mean, there's a line that I repeat a lot that because I love it. It's just that like the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door. And so I feel it's kind of just like just get started. You know what I mean? Just go and then see what happens. Um, I do want to ask, like, I wanted to expand on the piece that you mentioned about like framing and like kind of like because I think those are really good ideas, and I'm also curious about how you think about the way that what's happened in because I don't want to lead you on this, but like I feel like compared to like when you started making content to where we are now in terms of like what we watch, there's like a lot of aesthetic kind of preferences that seem to have changed based on the way that people make things now. And so again, like I don't want to like lead you into that, but I'm curious like how you would describe those or if you see that or if you don't see that and you think I'm just kind of talking crazy.
No, I agree with you. I think it depends on the niche that you're in. I mean, like one person's aesthetic choices would differ in like the film community on Instagram than it would on the beat community on Instagram. You know what I mean? So it definitely depends on the community that you're talking about. If you mean specifically the beat community, is that what you?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
stay there, yeah.
Um. Yeah, I think there's like it's all like filters and stuff going on. If that's what you mean, like something as surface level as the aesthetic of what the video looks like.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that's for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's this kind of and it's not just in the beat community. I think it's in every community. This like wanting to achieve cinematic visuals, the easiest way, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You
No,
know.
not at all. It's interesting. So, but it's interesting that you say that because I was actually there's a sense that I have, and I don't know if it's like the pandemic influenced this because we spend so much time on like Zoom and on like FaceTimes and stuff, where people, you're just seeing everybody's like just completely like destroyed house from like kids running around or like whatever. But that like now it actually feels like less cinematic to me than it did. Like it felt like
Hmm.
there was higher production value pieces. Like I would say yours still very high product. Like that clip I was just talking about with you on the street, like still really like clearly like very very intentional in the way that you color graded and filtered and it's just, it looks like very cinematic, but there's also it feels like a lot more stuff now, and I don't know if it's a TikTok influence thing that kind of bleeds in other platforms too, but that there's like kind of this more like I'm just setting the phone up and then I just do this and then you know what I
Oh,
mean, and
yeah.
it feels like a little bit, and I don't know if it's what it is, like I have like these ideas that maybe it's like to make you feel like you were in the room with that person, or that it makes it feel like it's less of an ad, it's not so much effort and like kind of, it's not so made up, and so it's like more like it just feels more direct maybe, like I don't know, like these are some of the things that I've been seeing and wondering if that has to do with it because that's the shift that I kind of feel like I've seen.
Yeah. I think part of it comes because people feel like they have to keep dropping shit. So the best and quickest way to do that is just I'm just gonna film my video right here. But I don't think that's the best strategy
Interesting.
at all.
Yeah.
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 Just for one reason, what we talked about before, but also it's like video making is what you want to do. You have to make a visual identity as well. So like if your aesthetic is just like you throwing your phone up, then cool. But that's also everybody else's aesthetic now. So
Yeah.
it's like how can you be different? You know?
Yeah, you know what I think would be interesting is just could you describe the way that you think about your visual identity or your brand? Because I think that would maybe help give others like a way to think about it. Because people, I think, a lot of times are like, I don't even know where to begin. That feels like such a big nebulous kind of like thing to take on.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely was a journey for me because I'm not interested in movies at all, which is interesting because I love making
Yeah, that's really surprising to
movies.
hear. Yeah.
But I hate watching movies, bro. I hate it. I hate it.
Really?
Like every once in a while, maybe throw something on and I'll enjoy it, like a comedy or something. But it's just not what I'm interested in. So finding a visual identity was especially hard for me because I didn't have like mood boards based off of like movies or shows. What inspired me was just the art of color grading in itself. So I would find myself like studying images, but not so much moving images and being like, "Oh, that's an interesting color palette and that makes me feel this way." And it's the same thing of like sound selection too. It's like certain sounds make you feel a certain way. And when I realized that that was the same as color, I was like, "Holy shit." So movies are really just framing in color. So you don't even really need to be interested in movies. I mean, if you want to be a storyteller then yeah. But like finding that for me was just looking at a ton of images like stills from movies or photographs. Just be like, why does this image hit? Well, because this is here and this is here, and then learning about the rule of thirds and learning about color theory and shooting in raw and why that's important. And it was super technical for me. It wasn't like this is my inspo and this is my mood board and I'm just gonna kind of emulate it. It was just kind of like super technical. What makes this hit and why do people?
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, but it's like you have to want to do it again. Like we said earlier, like you can't learn this stuff because you feel like you have to. I just wanted to because I thought it was cool. I love
Yeah.
color. So when you learn those principles and you learn the basics, then you know how to freak them and make them your own. Just like when you learn the basics of beat making, your first few beats might sound super like square and in the box, but then as you learn how to bend the rules, but once you learn the rules, you know how to bend them. So that's how I found the visual identity because I was like, okay, well, what happens if I super high overexpose the highlights and then put like a Gaussian blur over them after I put a keyer on them? Okay, well, the reason why I know all that techie stuff is because I just watched a million YouTube videos on how to do that. So now I know how to do it technically, and now I could break the rules. And that's with anything, any art form, beats, video, cooking, So you just gotta experiment.
What's cool, I mean, if I were to like, it sounds to me like what you're saying is, find things that you like and do your best to deconstruct them, and then you can understand what elements are relevant, and then you can flip them in your own way.
Absolutely, yeah. Like finding something that you think is cool from you of images, learning how to recreate that, and then making it my own. So just like you said,
Yeah,
yeah.
really cool, man. Real quick, because you were just talking about all those YouTube videos and stuff that you watched to learn that. I guess now where you're at, I mean, I guess two pieces. One is like when you were coming up, what did you feel like were the most helpful things that like sources of learning or concepts to study or things that you learned along the way that really helped you kind of make bigger leaps? And then now that you are more established, like what do you do to kind of keep like expanding and keeping things fresh for yourself so that you don't kind of just keep doing the same thing over and over again?
Yeah, I think the biggest tool is YouTube University, man. Like, bro, everything's on YouTube. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Like, there's a ton of courses out there that are shortcuts to information, but don't necessarily have different information. Like, there's definitely hours to be put in of like finding the right source on YouTube that you want to learn from versus finding a creator that you really like and buying their course. There's nothing wrong with that. You support the creator and you get your information a little bit faster. But like for me, when I was starting out, I didn't have any money. So I was just like surfing on YouTube for hours and hours and hours until I found one guy. I remember Music Tech Help Guy was like the guy for me to learn mixing on Logic. And I was just like binging all of his videos. And before I knew it, like he taught me how to mix. Um, Technically, because then you got to go in the studio and you got to practice it and learn it for yourself, really. But for me, it was YouTube, Music Tech Help Guy for mixing, and then just like listening to music that I really like, and not necessarily listening to music that I thought people wanted me to like. And I think I still kind of juggle with that a little bit because people want me to listen to X, Y, and Z artists, and I haven't heard them, not because I don't want to or not because I don't like them, but because I'm too busy studying what it is that I want to make. So just go all in what you like. Like don't let other people influence your taste or what you want to do. And once you find what you really like, then that's going to be the thing that you study. And that's it. And just go all in. Just fucking study that shit. And then once you're done studying, come back up for air and apply what you learned. And then you're going to learn even more. So I would say go on YouTube, bro. YouTube is the fucking goat of
Yeah.
learning anything. So,
Yeah, but I
yeah.
don't want to like. I definitely think it's important to point out what you're talking about. It's like yes, like take in some stuff,
Yeah.
but also like you don't know it until you do it. And we were talking about this a little bit last night, right? Like you have to put in like the time with your own hands
Yeah.
to really get it in there because otherwise it's kind of just floating around in your head.
Yeah. And also another point of that is like be really mindful of what you're consuming. Like I am really particular about not just like the music I listen to, but everything that I consume. Like I don't like reading or watching things or that don't align with what I want to do because it subconsciously taints your brain. Like it subconsciously influences you, especially as artists. You have to be so careful about what you're consuming because before you know it, you might accidentally be replicating something that you saw that maybe doesn't really represent you. You know what I mean? And so like be careful, like definitely try to consume as much education as you can, but be super careful about like just consuming shit for the sake of consumption. You know what I mean? Like, well, I have to learn this, I have to learn this. Well, be careful about what you're learning too, before you learn the wrong thing or something that you don't like. Bad habits.
Yeah, you are what you eat. No?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Right on,
There's
man.
nothing wrong with that.
So I want to wrap it up with these. I have some quick hits that I want to ask you, but before we do that, advice to the younger you.
Advice to the younger me.
Yeah.
Damn. I would say my advice to the younger me would be to don't get comfortable. I think after like a few years of doing this, I was like seeing a ton of success. I was like, this is fucking dope. You know, like I'm making money from this and I'm traveling the world and I'm doing all this cool shit. And I got mad comfortable until one day I was on a trip and I was getting a bottle of water. I forget where the fuck I was flying from, and my car got declined. Holy shit, dude. Like, I'm getting way too comfortable, way too cocky with this shit, man. Like, I gotta go back to the drawing board and go grind again. So don't like if you're seeing like a little bit of success, like don't get too comfortable with it. Give yourself time to appreciate it. Give yourself time to give yourself a pat on the back and really breathe that shit. But you got to keep going. Like you're until you can sit back and say that you did everything that you want to do, then you're not done. Yeah. So don't be stupid and blow your fucking money or time or whatever.
I mean, this from the guy who didn't sleep for 2 weeks to finish a project.
Yeah.
Get comfortable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So yeah, have these feel free to be as like kind of short or long winded as you want with them. I always say, because sometimes they're you never know, they could get you going. So this first one, what's your most used piece of hardware right now?
Uh, I guess MPC Live, but not really. I would say more of the laptop. I've been like a heavy laptop producer lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a Logic guy on the laptop, right?
Yeah.
Best free plugin or tool you'd recommend to everyone?
Ooh, free plugin or I would say, yeah. Damn, that's a hard one. Any AI tool that helps you do what you want to do, because a lot of them are still free. Yeah, right. Like right now, I'm really using on Logic. There's a stem splitter, and it's AI based. It's free and it's built into Logic, and I'm using that to freak samples.
Yeah, Ableton's finally, literally today, I think, is dropped to the public.
Yeah.
About time, man.
Yeah,
But
don't be afraid to use AI for shit like that. You know,
Yeah.
AI is super controversial, but for shit like that, it helps us be better producers.
That's just a straight utility kind of function, man. Yeah, it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
about time. One production technique that you overuse.
Damn. I think I take the concept of spreading out your plugins over several plugins a little bit too crazy, because before I know it, I have compression split over 5 different plugins, and then my track can't hold any more plugins.
Wait, say more about that.
Well, the idea of like, for example, compression, like you don't want to smash it to like 10 dB of gain reduction in one go. You kind of want to do like 3 here, 3 here, 3 here.
Several instances of the same.
Yeah, but I kind of, and that's great. It's a great thing to do, but I find myself doing it with other plugins too. And then before I know it, my chain's way too big.
Gotcha. Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Something in the studio you've been meaning to organize or fix for months.
Oh my God. Just file organization. Yeah, file organization.
3 artists that change how you think about music.
Amy Winehouse. Honestly, Freddie Joachim, who I saw you had on the podcast. He's one of my favorite producers of all time.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Shout out to Freddie Joachim.
Yeah. And Tribe Called Quest.
Those are good answers. I like that spread. Who's an underrated producer more people should know about?
Down with the Fudge Monk.
Wow. BC. Last book that actually stuck with you.
Ooh. I didn't finish it. Oh shit. Hold on. I wanna give the answer for the people, so let's come back to that. I gotta look up what it was called.
What's something about the music industry that would surprise outsiders?
Outsiders of music in general?
Yeah.
After you get to a certain point of success, if you're on a record label, nobody's writing their own music. Nobody. Guys like us are doing it.
Best piece of unsolicited advice you ever ignored and shouldn't have?
Damn. Something from my dad about like should have opened up a Roth IRA a lot sooner. Yeah.
That's very honest and down to earth.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about the internet, what would it be?
I would change. Ooh, this is a double-edged sword. I think people are super bold because of the internet now, which is an amazing thing. Be yourself, but I think it went a little bit too far. You got kids fucking twerking and shit like that, and I don't know. There's like a certain level of bold that you can be, and then you pass that point, and now you're just like degrading society. So like, yeah, just kind of like the over sexualization of the internet. I'm like really not with it.
Right on, man. That's all we got. Are there any projects or like anything like that are upcoming or already out that you want to point people to that they should go check?
Yeah. Pretty soon I have EP dropping with D from Homegrown Mafia. It's like a vocal collab. It's the first time I didn't do any production. I mixed it.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's dope. Wow.
Yeah, I mixed it, but I didn't make any beats on it. Russell Beats made the beats on it, and D made one of the beats. And it's pure me rapping and singing.
Damn, that's what's up, man. We look forward to that.
Yeah.
And then in terms of any like beat projects and stuff that's out, you want to send people to?
Beat projects, yeah, I would say the last thing that I dropped was a collab with Colombian beat makers Tropical Beats and The Equation Beats, both from Medellin, Colombia. And it's a beat tape, and it's super dope.
Cool.
It's on Spotify right now.
And then where's the best place for people to follow you?
Yeah, you could check me out on Spotify, The Phronetic, or YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, anywhere you like your social media, The Phronetic.
Phronetic.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, check him. Man, thank you so much for being here, man. To be in the spot to do this is really cool.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
No,
it.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming through, man. I mean, like, just how hardworking you are, how down to earth you are, and just, continued success, man. Wishing you
Thank
the
you,
best
man.
for sure.
You too.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Everybody, this has been Toru, and in a way, so are you. That concludes another episode of Producer Head. We will catch you next time. Peace.
I gotta find that book. He's the producer who's not actually a producer. Rob. Good. How do you feel, man? Yeah. Rick Rubin, the creative act.
That's a wrap on my conversation with the Phronetic. If there's one thing to take away from this episode, it is this. Great music does not force itself on people. It invites them in through space, restraint, and trust in your own taste. If this episode resonated with you, sit with it. Don't feel the need to rush to the next thing. Make something you actually want to hear, something that feels honest, and let it breathe. Don't forget to share this episode with another producer. From Producer Head, this is Toru, and in a way, so are you. Peace. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a rating and review wherever you're listening. This helps Producer Head find its place and its people. Without you, there is no Producer Head. Thanks again for tuning into Producer Head. Subscribe and join our community over at producerhead.substack.com so you never miss an episode. Substack subscribers receive exclusive access to the biweekly podium, a curation of my favorite discoveries on and offline over the past week. You'll also get access to Producer Head Bars, where I share the best of what's been shared with me to help you and other producers in our community grow. The podium and Producer Head Bars are designed to provide immediate inspiration and direct application in your creative process. So, subscribe at producerhead.substack.com to receive real inspiration and ideas you can use to elevate your own process today. If you care for the craft, get your exclusive access at producerhead.substack.com. This episode was co-produced, engineered, and edited by Matthew Diaz. Big thank you to him. From Producer Head, this is Toru, and in a way, so are you. Peace.